Hi, welcome to Glow's Kinder Kitchen, and I'm Glow. Well, today we are going to be making some chicken and dumplings for you for dinner. And I just wanted to share with you, I made my stock the day before, and we will attach a video for that and how to do that. And I put it in the refrigerator so I could get the fat off of it, and that's what I had for the fat. This is 2 quarts that I made. And I made it in my crock pot overnight. So the first thing I'm going to do is put that in my pot to warm up. So let's go ahead and get started. And this stock is pretty gelatinous, as you can tell as it's going in. And it's been sitting out on my counter probably about a half an hour. So it was even more gelatinous prior. But it's a warm day. Here it's in the 70s. So we'll put the next one in. I'm going to turn my burner on. What I need to do first here is when I turn my burner on, I want this to come up to a good simmer. And then I'm going to be putting 2 large chicken thighs in here to cook.
There they are.
And along with that, we're going to be putting some veggies. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of the residue in the bottom of this and put it in the pot. And I'll be back with you about probably 5 to 10 minutes once this comes up to a simmer. Well, I can hear my stock in there about ready to come to a boil. So let's remove the lid and we'll see what it looks like. Yep. Can you see where it's starting to break the top? You don't want a real hard boil.
It's boiling.
You just want a hard simmer. So in fact, I'm going to turn it down just a tad. Now I'm going to put in some additional salt. This is about a teaspoon at the most. I'm going to go ahead and put that in. The reason I didn't put that in the beginning is because you could hit your pot if your water's not hot to dissolve that salt right away.
Don't pitch your pot.
No. So then I'm going to put in the chicken thighs. I have 2 large ones, about a pound of them here. And I had washed these off. And when I cook my chicken for stuff like this, I kind of like it to go to a low simmer. It takes a little longer, but the meat turns out to be not as tough by doing that. So, and I'm going to go ahead and add these vegetables in. I have 2 stalks of celery, including leaves, that I'm going to put in here. The leaves really add a lot of flavor. And then I have 2 carrots that I cut up in small pieces. And I also have here 1 medium onion that I cut up in small pieces as well. So we're going to add that. And when I made this broth, it had the same things in it that I just put in now. But when you strain that broth off, you don't have the vegetables in there anymore, you just have the flavor of them. So this is going to stay in here for our chicken and dumplings. So now I'm just going to make sure everything's nestled in there nicely. Then I'm going to add some sage, about a teaspoon, and this is rubbed sage. I'm just going to rub it a little bit in my hands just to get it going a little bit as far as waking it up since it's dry. And the same thing with thyme, about a teaspoon. And I'm going to rub that in my hand to get that awakening up. And then I have marjoram. I'll do about a teaspoon of that as well. Rub it in my hand to wake it up. I'll mix all of that together. It smells really good, you guys. And then I'm also going to put some pepper in. And usually when I do this, I kind of just lightly cover the top of the broth with it. There, that's probably 3/4 of a teaspoon at the very most. And then we'll sample it after, it's all done before we do our dumplings to make sure our seasonings are right. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put the lid back on. You can see that the water is starting to break at the top. And that's what you want. You don't want it a roaring boil, like I said. We're gonna let this cook for about a half an hour and we'll see how the chicken's coming along. We'll see it in about 30 minutes. Hello. Well, it's been about a half an hour, so let's check our chicken here and see how it's coming along. And I've had this cooking on low. I started it off on like medium and then switched it to medium low, and then I switched it to low. So we're gonna take one of these out and I'm gonna put it on this plate, and I'm just gonna check it to see if it's ready yet. When you check the temperature, you want to make sure that you keep it away from the bone, because otherwise it won't be an accurate temperature. You want it to be between 160 and 170. And it's ready. It's at 170. I don't know if you can see that. It's right there.
Zoom in.
170 exact.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and take the other one out. There we go. We're going to let these cool so that I can debone them. And I'm going to just set these over here for right now. And let me see here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and cover this again. And I'm going to talk to you about the dumplings. By covering it, it's going to keep that stock warm. So for the dumplings, I went ahead and I measured out 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And then to that, we're going to be adding 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And then 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And if your hand's not real steady, I wouldn't do that over the bowl. I would do it over to the side. And then here I have 3/4 of a cup of just whole milk. And I put 2 eggs in here and I beat it up. And then I have about 2 teaspoons of olive oil. So when I get ready to mix my dumplings up, I'm going to make a little well after I mix all this up, and we'll do it together. And then I'm going to put this in and stir it up, and then I'm actually going to put it in this pot to cook in the broth, covered. And it takes about 15 minutes and they puff up beautifully. So right now what we need to do is to let our chicken here cool off. It's too hot for me to debone at this point. So I'll be back with you in just a little bit, and we're going to debone this chicken and we'll get our dumplings going. See you back in a few. Well, our chicken is cool enough now to debone, and what I do is I just kind of pull it apart like this, and I remove like any of the skin and fat that might be on it. You don't want to eat that. But what I do, since I made my stock up in advance in my crock pot, and I gotta tell you, when you do it in the crock pot, it makes your house smell so good. When you wake up in the morning, and as it's been cooking, it just smells wonderful, and it's just easy to do. But because of the way I do it, I'm gonna save the skin and the bone from this, and I'll put it in a freezer bag along with some other stuff that I've been saving for my next broth that I cook. And it will add a lot of flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and continue. I just wanted to show you how I do this. I'll be pulling this skin off of this one as well. And we'll be back, and we're going to add it to the pot to start simmering, and we'll do the dumplings. Well, I got the chicken all done, and you can see the size of the pieces. And if you want them smaller, by all means, cut them up smaller. But that's usually what we do. And I did take a little sample of it, and it's delicious. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and remove the lid. And that's about what you want to see there as far as simmering. Just going to set this down. And so what I'm going to do is put this chicken in here. I always use the back of my knife when I'm doing something like this, because if you do like this, like even on a, you know, chopping board or whatever, it will dull your knife. So I try not to do that. I'll just set this over here and get it out of the way. So just gonna stir this up a little. And you could put more chicken in here if you wanted, but I felt like 2 large chicken thighs would be plenty for us for this. This isn't what you call a real large pot of soup. So the next thing we're going to do is do our dumplings. So I'm going to go ahead and put this lid back on here to keep this warm. And we're going to do our dumplings. So if you recall, we have 1½ cups of all-purpose flour in here, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So what I'm going to do is just kind of stir this up. I like to use my Dutch whisk or Danish whisk to do that. You wouldn't think something like this would mix up stuff good, but I'll tell you, this is an excellent tool for your kitchen if you don't have one. So the next thing I'm going to do, and I didn't share this earlier, is I'm putting in some fresh parsley. This is probably about 2 tablespoons, 2 to 3 tablespoons. And I just chopped it up pretty small. And this is curly parsley. It's not the flat parsley. That's what they had at the store when I was there, and they both taste very similar. So just mix it up. Now I'm going to just kind of make a little well here. Let's see if I can put that over to the side for a moment. And I'm just going to stir this up again. And the olive oil that's in this is not the extra virgin. You could use the extra virgin if you want, but the extra virgin seems to have a little bit stronger flavor, and I didn't want to do that in this. You can put Crisco, melted butter, whatever you want to use. You could actually use the chicken fat too if you wanted that. So I'm going to go ahead and start mixing. What you want is a dough that is going to make into a ball. As you can see, this recipe is just so easy. We may not need all of this, and I actually have a little bit extra flour here too, because we might want that. Can you see that as I'm mixing it?
Yes, yes we can.
I think I'm going to add a little bit more flour to this. Yeah, I think that'll be good. Maybe just a tad more flour, but not much more. So we've probably put in maybe 1/8 of a cup of additional flour. As you can see, I did not use all of this. I have probably about 1/3 of a cup left of this, maybe 1/2. But that included the 2 eggs and the oil. There we go. So what I like to use is one of these. I use it for cookies and stuff. It's a little dipper. It's like an ice cream scoop in a way. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the lid. And I'm going to up the temperature just a little. Yeah. See how easy this thing is to clean off too? That's
Very
all
easy,
it-
Miss Glow.
So, now what we're going to do is we're just going to use our little scoop and we're going to just drop it in. We'll do another one. You can make them any size you want. See how they're already starting to come up to the top?
Yes, we do.
You don't want to overcrowd these either. I mean, you can have them so they're touching a little, but you need to give them a little room to expand. But this is like cooking a biscuit. Okay, so let's put another one in. We had a little camera failure there for a moment, so if it's messed up, I'm sorry. Lucy wants some too. She went to the groomer today and she's all pampered and gussied up. She got her nails cut. She really needed that. So we'll just move that one over and we'll put that one right in there. See how they're puffing up?
Yes, we do.
That's so neat how that works. So I'm just gonna scrape this off, drop it in. There's so many ways to do dumplings too, but this is just one of the ways. Like I was saying with cornmeal, you can do them. You could put different herbs or whatever you want in your dumplings, but I'm gonna let this cook open without the lid for 5 minutes. And at the 5-minute mark, we'll be back and we're going to cover it and let it cook again for an additional 15 minutes. I'll be back. Well, it's been 5 minutes and look how those have puffed up so pretty.
Looks good, Miss Glow.
So I'm going to thank you. I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on it and we're going to let this cook for an additional 15 to 20 minutes, but we'll be back in 15 to check them. Hello. Well, our timer went off and let's take a look at this. This has been 15 minutes. Don't those look nice?
Looks really good, Miss Glow.
Yeah, so I'm going to see here. We can take one out and we can test it. What it is, you want it to be dry in the center. So
Dry, you say?
yeah, so it's like cooked. Like a biscuit.
Ah.
So let me just set that in there for the moment. Let's see what it looks like. Here, let me get a fork too. Oh yeah, look at that. Isn't that beautiful?
Excellent, Miss Glow.
Oh yeah. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead now and put some peas in here. We don't put them in until towards the end because we don't like our peas super overdone. But if you like your peas, you know, well done, then by all means, you could put them in and cook them with the dumplings. So I'm just going to go ahead and slide them in. I don't know if we'll put all of them in right now or not. That might be enough. And I just used frozen peas. So that was probably about, I would say 3/4 of a cup of peas that we put in there. So we're going to go ahead and let the peas just cook a little bit and leave the lid off because they're ready to go. And we'll take a picture of this and then I'll be back to taste it. Well, here's a small bowl of the chicken and dumplings. And I gotta tell you, I tried the dumpling and it is delicious. So I'm gonna try some of the soup too, and let's see.
Smells good, Miss Glow. Looks good. Smells good.
It is delicious, you guys. So homemade. Nothing, yeah, it doesn't taste like anything like you would get out of a can. The peas and the carrot. Here's some with the celery. Look at that dumpling. It's like a biscuit.
Yes, it is.
So light. If you've never made homemade stock, you should give this a try and make this chicken and dumplings. You will not be unsatisfied with it. It is just delicious. So anyway, I'd like to thank you for joining us. And if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe to our channel. We would really appreciate it. And give me a comment. I hope you have a great day. Bye.